Well, it's the final episode of predictions this season, and we just got one game left. And almost nobody is happy about it. Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to an episode of Packcast, the podcast where you don't have to be a Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. It could have been the Packers, it could have been the Lions, it could have been the Ravens, but this is what we got, Grossi. And today we are going to be breaking down and predicting the final game of the NFL season, and it is the Super Bowl. You might say, which Super Bowl? And I would say the Roman numeral one. It's a number. It's up there. Last week, I went 1-1. I got the AFC Championship game wrong, but I got the NFC Championship game right, even though I was sweating for a little bit, meaning that I am 183-102 on the season. Unfortunately, I just went 500 each week of the playoffs after having a great regular season, so it kind of screwed up my record at the end, but maybe, just maybe, we'll get them all correct this week, because there's only one game. But we have made it to the final two teams. We got the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the San Francisco 49ers, and both of these teams kind of going through a journey to get there. The 49ers at one point were seen as the best team in the league. Then they played against the Baltimore Ravens on Christmas and got the ever-living crap kicked out of them. But that didn't matter because they were still able to win a bunch of games and on top of that, secure that number one seed, recently defeating the Detroit Lions. And Lions fans, they ain't happy hearing that they choked that opportunity away.
Newsflash, asshole! I've been hearing it the entire goddamn time!
It's okay, Lions fans. Us as Packers fans, we've been there. And this was a game that the Lions had in hand, going up 24-7 at halftime. Everything was going the Lions' way, in which you had mistakes being made by the 49ers. Their offense couldn't really get things going. And the Lions' offense, they were flying. The run game was super successful, over 100 yards in the first half. Jared Goff was looking good. The defense was playing well. And then I imagine this was George Kittle at halftime.
I'll figure something out, okay?
And that second half, especially the third quarter, which has been a problem for the Lions all season, really just came to a head. Fumbles, just bad decisions, and ultimately the Lions did lose, and the 49ers are heading to the Super Bowl. And it's an awesome story for the 49ers because not only do they get potential revenge against the Chiefs, the team that beat them 4 years ago in the Super Bowl, but, I mean, it's a great story for Brock Purdy, a guy who has had a ton of narratives against him all season. And while the 49ers have not played their best football in these past 2 weeks, I think they've also proved some criticisms to be wrong, because you look at what their major criticism has always been is that, oh, this team can't come back from a deficit. You just have to get an early lead on them and you'll be fine. And while the Packers could never extend it to a 2-score lead and were just up 7 at one point, the Lions, they did that. They were up 24-7, and unfortunately that wasn't enough. And in one quarter, with the 49ers scoring 17 points, they proved a lot of people wrong, showing that, oh no, yes, there was a good amount of luck, especially with that Brandon Ayuk catch, but at the end of the day, they were able to come back and win that game. And that fourth quarter, they really just dominated. I mean, talking about that Jahmyr Gibbs fumble, that was the momentum shift. And from there, the 49ers never took their foot off the gas. And so while many might think it's a little underwhelming, the 49ers are a fun football team and they're a good football team. And I think that they are going to have a really tough challenge taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. Because you go back to even week 1 and them losing against the Lions, people are like, oh, I don't know. But then again, maybe there's an asterisk there. But honestly, the Chiefs did not have a season like we expected them to. However, their defense was always really, really good, and their offense struggled at times. I mean, how many weeks do we hear the narratives of how terrible the wide receivers are? Travis Kelce really didn't have a great regular season. And at the end of the day, they still won their division because there was no competition in the AFC West. And now they are sitting here at the end going to the Super Bowl again. And at the beginning of the season, you would have thought, yeah, that makes sense. But how this season has transpired and the fact that they still made it there because they just played 3 really good games in the playoffs, I mean, that's just a testament to what Andy Reid and company have built over in Kansas City. And for the rest of the AFC, yeah, they just can't take down Mahomes and the Chiefs.
I can't take it anymore! I just want to die! We
even rope me into this? Because he roped me into this. Well, him over there, he roped me into this. Well, he roped me into this. Well, what about me? He roped me into this. Well, that one over there roped me into this. Well, he roped me into this.
And they just played their toughest challenge against the #1 seeded Baltimore Ravens, who for the past month have looked like and have been the most dominant team in football. We talked about what they did against the 49ers and just absolutely obliterated them. Their defense is amazing. Their offense was clicking. And for some reason, the Ravens are like, we shouldn't run the ball. And while their defense did play really well, it was the offense, it was the turnovers, the penalties, and the Chiefs, they just remained consistent. They got shut out in the second half against a really good defense, and it didn't matter because they were in control of that game, because they did what the old Patriots did, which was just wait for their opponent to make a mistake. And the Ravens made plenty of them. So all those narratives about Travis Kelce struggling or the receivers struggling, you haven't really seen that in these past 3 games. In fact, Travis Kelce has played some of his best games of the season in the playoffs. Rashee Rice is a great option, of course. Isaiah Pacheco playing well, and Patrick Mahomes is playing mistake-free football. And that is a winning recipe. And so, yeah, they're going to be the evil empire, but you got to feel that Chiefs fans, they're keeping receipts, especially not only the narratives from this season, but after Eagles fans said that they peaked after beating them in the Super Bowl.
Peaked, D? Let me tell you something. I haven't even begun to peak. And when I do peak, you'll know. Because I'm going to peak so hard that everybody in Philadelphia is going to feel it.
And so now you got a rematch of 4 years ago between the 49ers and the Chiefs. And I think ultimately this is going to be a very good game. The 49ers have a ton of skill players and now have shown that they can come back from a deficit. And while the Chiefs, their offense still leaves a little bit to be desired, at the same time, they show that they can be efficient and their defense is really damn good. And it's the best defense that Patrick Mahomes has ever played with. And so looking at this game, I think it can come down to the wire. I'm very curious to see what the run defense of the 49ers is going to do, because these past 2 weeks they have been gashed on the ground, first by Aaron Jones and then by Jahmyr Gibbs and Montgomery. And so that is going to be a challenge because Isaiah Pacheco is a monster when he runs. On top of that, while there's not a ton of weapons for the Chiefs that you're used to, they are still able to move the football. And Patrick Mahomes, if he keeps playing at the level that he has this postseason, they're going to be just fine. And on top of that, the 49ers offensive line is definitely solid. Trent Williams, one of the best in the game. But after that, things get a little bit dicey. And if they're getting after Brock Purdy, who was able to make some amazing plays on Sunday against the Lions, for example, hitting Kyle Juszczyk on the sideline and his tippy toes just able to find a receiver, Brock Purdy is a darn good quarterback. And while I don't think he's going to win MVP or anything like that, the fact that he has helped take this team to the Super Bowl with all those amazing skill players and amazing coaching, I mean, he's got to get credit for that. And I don't think this is going to be a walk in the park for either team. However, me being me, I doubted the Chiefs. I did. I said that they beat the Dolphins, but then I thought the Bills could beat them. Then I thought the Ravens could beat them. And now I'm sitting here looking like a moron. After I had a great regular season, I blew it in the playoffs, just going 500 each week in the playoffs. And yeah, the Chiefs, they are Thanos. They are inevitable. And here they are in the Super Bowl again. And ultimately, with the experience that Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and that Chiefs squad has, I do like the Chiefs winning this game. I just think that Andy Reid's going to put together an amazing game plan, and they're going to execute it incredibly well. And whether or not their offense puts up 24 points, 17 points, or 10 points, I think the Chiefs defense, which will have its hands full, can keep the 49ers at bay, especially if they're able to get after Brock Purdy. So while I imagine this is going to be a close game that's going to come down to the wire in the fourth quarter, I am going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs getting the win, extending their reign of terror, nearly making it a dynasty, and everyone can just shake it off. Because, yeah, the Chiefs, doesn't matter if they don't have Tyreek Hill, doesn't matter if they struggle all season, they're always going to be there at the end. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. How do you see this game shaking out? Let me know. You can always find me at Tom Grossi Comedy. All social media is seen down below. A big shout out and thank you to all the patrons and YouTube members for supporting this channel. And thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.